We frequently have a hard time seeing how our actions impact the world surrounding us, as our daily habits bring with them a layer of complacency, which causes us to act without being fully engaged with all aspects of our movements. In every interaction between humans, non-human animals, and everything else we might interact with, including money and all other inanimate objects, there has been a chain reaction of interactions that led to the very action which is present in front of us. There is also a following chain reaction of interactions that come after said action. I refer to these actions, interactions, and reactions as exchanges. Exchanges are ultimately the individual micro and macro interactions between all. Two humans engaging in a fight is an exchange between two humans. Buying a plastic bag is an exchange between the purchaser and the bag. Making a decision to take a left turn instead of a right turn is an exchange between the decision maker and the decision. These intersecting lines of reality, such as the reality that is the plastic bag and the reality that is the purchaser of said bag, create the exchanges within the present moment. The exchanges in the present moment are influenced and set up by the past and influence the future. The constant linking of cause and effect allows us to take part as a link in the chain of exchanges. Each exchange is, physically and directly, intersectionally connected to the exchanges which led up to the exchange in question and the future exchanges that will take place as a result. Exchanges act like the links of a chain link. Each link is an exchange, and the chain is ultimately an infinite timeline of the various exchanges that have taken place and will take place, leading and linking to one another. Exchanges are directly linked to all prior and future exchanges, meaning every preceding exchange is a cause of each that follows. Exchanges take place in single moments, but come from a long chain of separate exchanges prior to the one in question. These are directly linked to the resulting infinite chain of exchanges that take place after them. An example of an exchange can be somebody ordering a fish dinner from a restaurant. The exchange we're observing is the ordering and consumption of such fish plate. This single action was made possible by a preceding line of exchanges, which included the person becoming hungry, deciding to eat out, choosing this particular restaurant over others, as well as a separate line of exchanges such as the fish being caught, killed, prepared, transported, and ultimately purchased and delivered to the table for consumption. This choice also precedes the following line of exchanges which occur afterwards, such as the consumer leaving the restaurant, going home, and whatever else follows in the course of their life. This means the fish arriving in front of the customer would not be possible without the preceding line of events having taken place, and inevitably, the preceding line of events takes place as a direct result of the exchange in question. Another quick example of an exchange can be somebody using a plastic bag for however long and then throwing it in the garbage. The garbage is then taken to a dumpster, which is taken to a processing facility where it eventually makes its way to the ocean. While in the ocean, the bag sinks to the bottom where a fish swims into it. The fish becomes trapped and ultimately suffocates on the bag, perishing, unheard by any humans. In both of these examples, the fish plate and the plastic bag example, one can see that the two parties involved in an exchange might be crossing paths at different points in time. The time between the plastic bag being thrown in the garbage and it suffocating a fish might be separated by months, yet the two events are physically directly linked to each other, as the person who wasted the plastic has pawned it onto nature's shoulders to burden. A burden which then weighs upon the fish who suffocates. Even though there are two parties involved in exchanges, this does not mean that we have to label either side as being right or wrong. When observing exchanges, there is no necessity to point fault towards either side. These are simply links in an infinite intersection of chains coming together. This does not mean that either party is or isn't guilty and absolved of guilt, but rather means that, as observers of exchanges, we should take a step back and view such links objectively, instead of internalizing and rationalizing one side or the other. The presence and observance of exchanges is simply to bring attention to the reality of the situation. A person using a plastic bag is not malicious, and the use of the bag is not necessarily unjust. But that does not lessen the impact that such a plastic bag will have if it takes one or more lives after being discarded. By viewing exchanges objectively, we can trace back the roots of our actions and see things how they truly are, whether or not we'd like to face such realities. With knowledge of exchanges, one can observe how actions are directly linked with physical outcomes in the world, even if out of sight. Once we become familiar with observing exchanges, we can have a better perspective towards how the exchanges in our lives impact the world around us. Once we are aware of the exchanges we take part in, we can begin to see how our choices affect the world we touch. Through this awareness of observing our impact, we can begin to consciously make choices which will better skew the future in a positive direction.